Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking this time out to listen. Today, I am talking about those Christian men who are single and they are ready to mingle. And I did say that, didn't I? And unfortunately, some folks are not listening to the Lord, and that's just what they're doing. They're going on these various online dating sites, and they are putting their Bibles on the shelves, and they're doing whatever it is that they want to do for the moment, whether it's join a hookup site or join a website where you answer about 100 questions, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking, Lord, you know I have my needs. I'm not judging anybody, but I am going to warn you. So if you don't want to listen to the warning, or you think you know more than most folks, then I do suggest that you click off this message, okay? Because I don't want to ruin anyone's day. But at the same time, though, we want to make sure that we do what is right if we call ourselves believers, and we conduct ourselves in a way that God will be pleased, and also folks will not end up not wanting to walk with the Lord as a result of our example. Okay. Now, there are some men as well as women that I will be referring to, of course, not giving any names. But when it comes to dating, you've got to pay close attention to who you are connecting with. Okay. Now, we talk a lot about recognizing an unbeliever and the lost and the backslider and children of darkness and things of that sort when it comes to church, when it comes to family members, when it comes to friends and so forth. But we need to pay close attention to those individuals who are expressing interests, okay, in us in a way that is, lustful possibly. Maybe it is business related. Maybe it is a potential husband or wife. You just never know unless you spend some time with someone. And that is, unfortunately, the downside about dating apps and dating websites, is that there are so many people coming at you. There are so many things that are going on these different sites that you are not focused on any one person. You're focused on many people. And I believe that in time, what happens is a person becomes quite familiar with one person more so than the other, but the one that they should be going out with, they end up ignoring that one, and they go with the one that reminds them of an uncle, a cousin, somebody that they once dated or once was in love with. And then they wonder later on, why is it that the relationship didn't work out? Well, you went with what you were comfortable with, and the enemy will do that. Now, we've got to zero in on the Christian, though, the Christian who has various spirits. Okay. And these spirits, though, are not good ones. But how do you recognize them? Okay. How do you recognize these spirits if no one is sitting down and talking to you and saying that, okay, there are believers, but there are believers that have a religious spirit. There are believers that have Jezebel spirits, and believers that have witchcraft spirits. And then you have those believers that have a divination or false prophecy kind of spirit. Then you have those that believe in idol worship. They have a foreign god spirit. It's not the kind of God that you think. And then, of course, there are those Christians that have a lukewarm or, I'm satisfied in my faith kind of spirit. And then you have those that, of course, have those familiar spirits. And those are the ones that just basically just pick up on some things that you're saying, and then they go and they talk to their sisters and brothers in Christ about, what you say, what you do. And then some of these folks are not necessarily believers, but they're satanic. Okay, so they're not all in the church body. Some of their confidants are out there in the world. Okay, now all of this stuff is going on with some of these believers, and here you are on the Christian website thinking, okay, I'm right at home. Well, there are some individuals that they are not who they claim to be. So let's break all of this down, shall we? I remember seeing some interesting lights around folks. Okay. I first started receiving those visions back in 1997, 1998. There were interesting lights that I saw around folks. And we're talking about in the spiritual realm, in the paranormal realm. Okay. And I thought, Lord, what is this that's happening? Something that I was doing, praying, what have you, I ended up in another realm, seeing things that I had never seen before. And the Lord said, all of these different symbols and lights and so forth that you see represent something. And so gradually he showed me. Well, I had forgot about some of that information that he gave me. And so when the enemy showed up, he showed up and he made me feel as if I was still okay and all right with the Lord, even though I had done some things that actually drew me away from the Lord. So I was going into a backsliding state and didn't realize that that's where I was headed. So there was a part of me that wanted to be around individuals and date individuals that were secular as well as Christian. Okay. And I didn't think twice about that's not a good idea. Okay. But being that I was in a backsliding state of mind, and then drinking and going out to the club and all that had re-entered into my life after having experienced a divorce, I really didn't care too much about anything. Now, when the shift took place, now mind you, I came to know Christ in 1997. Then I started noticing some things were a little bit different in 1998. Then about 2000, I wanted to, do what was right and just not, because my biggest sin was living with someone and having sex outside of marriage. And I wanted to make my situation right. Okay. Now, I hadn't met that person online. I had met the person offline. So I did what I thought to be right, despite all the warnings that were around me that no, even from evangelists, no, this isn't the right thing. I think you need to go and talk with the Lord again. No, I think I need to do this. The devil is a lie. I'm going to go ahead on. I'm going to get married. So there was this period of time where the Lord said, and now that you've done this, you're going to have to stay in this. So I stayed in the marriage for almost 8 years. Okay. Now, during that particular time, I was warring spiritually with someone who I was not equally yoked with. But I was connected with the light around him. Okay. Now, the light around him, though, I did not know was not something that was good. Or I should say, I forgot. The light was a religious spirit that didn't come from him, but came from someone else. When I learned more about the religious spirit, I recognized that it was a demonic spirit. It was actually not a good spirit, and that it's rooted in just a very judgmental, self-righteous type of personality. Okay. Very prideful. It comes into play when one has been attending church for a long time and they are very legalistic. They are doing everything by the book, and they believe that their faith and everything associated with it is by works. So I'm going to do this and do that, and God is going to see all of these wonderful things that I've done, and therefore that makes me better than everyone else, and this type of thing. Okay. Now, when you're around a person that has that type of spirit, and then, they're putting that type of attitude on everyone else as well, then you eventually get caught up in it. Okay. You can refer to that particular spirit in Luke chapter 7, verse 39. Some of the things that are connected with that religious spirit that this individual you might meet, okay, on the dating website or maybe offline, they're going to say things that are critical of others. You're going to pick up on that. And it's not just one or two comments. It starts becoming a pattern. That's why I don't deal with people. People are this, people are that. They're very critical. They are very much about their achievements and their successes and what they do, and they consider themselves to be better than other folks. Okay. They will cause some confusion because they're going to ask a lot of questions, but these questions that they ask you are to puff themselves up. They're not trying so much to learn anything substantial about you, unless of course it benefits them. So if I want to get into your pockets or what have you, or I want you to come to my church, or I want you to be a part of something that I'm doing, then I might stand down enough to hear what you have to say, but then use what you have to say to get you to do some things for me. Okay. So this might, of course, cause all sorts of problems, because if you catch on to what is happening, you're going to see the manipulation, and then you're going to fight, and it's going to be arguments and all of that. These folks like to argue. They say they don't, and then they will put their combative spirit on you. They'll say that you're the problem, but you started this argument. You started with your questions. You started with, being critical of me or of my family members and so forth. And so now that I'm responding, now I'm the bad person. They believe that in order to be saved, you've got to do some things. They will, condemn you. They will tell you that this is why you're going through like you're going through, because you should have done A, B, C, D, E, F, and G and all this other stuff, to the point where it's so overwhelming that you feel like you could never do right by the Lord. Okay. We as believers have to constantly be mindful of this sort of thing. Okay. And then, of course, they make you feel nervous and scared and worried and everything else when it comes to God, in that you can just never do anything right. And then they don't have much tolerance for other people. They really don't. And they're going to nitpick. They're going to find fault. And when you're around this sort of religious spirit, you cannot sit comfortably. You feel like you have to sit up straight. You have to watch what you say. You can't relax. You're always, in a guarded state of mind. Okay, that is a spirit, and it needs to be broken. It needs to be casted out. It needs to be delivered. A lot of folks are walking around with these spirits, and they stay away from individuals that can lay hands on them. Okay, and it's funny because when I say lay hands, I think of two things: lay hands as far as physically praying for them. Then I also think of those individuals who will physically fight. And they know that some folks are out there in the world, so they're going to stay away from those types too, because they know that the folks in the world will not hesitate to slap them in the mouth. So, so they try, they know how to calm down around certain folks. Okay. Now, this is the kind of person that is on, some of these dating sites. They've been in the church for a long time, and they think that they're better. They have a holy thou art type of attitude. Okay. Now, that this Jezebel spirit that you hear a lot of people talking about. Okay. I've even referenced Jezebel. Oh my goodness. Jezebel falls under narcissism. She's, bipolar disorder and all of that. But Jezebel does not work alone. I have to continuously remind people of that, because so many people focus on the Jezebel spirit, but they don't think about those that are around Jezebel. Jezebel has to have people around her. Jezebel doesn't operate by herself. She usually has some friend or, a husband. Okay. Yes, there are those who are still married that are going on these different websites. And that person is influencing Jezebel as well as Jezebel herself. Okay. And usually the person is weak, though. So when they're influencing Jezebel, it's more so to meet Jezebel's needs. She feeds off of people who are going to listen and obey and do whatever she tells them to do. And she's going to play just like the religious, just like the person with the religious spirit. She's going to play a guilt trip on you when you don't do what she wants. Okay. There's nothing humble about Jezebel. She's very prideful. She's an insecure type of person. She sometimes cannot make up her mind. She's always looking for some kind of attention. She accuses folks. She's a bully. And when now let me go back to accusing folks. When she accuses folks, a lot of times she's accusing people of the things that she's into and what she's doing. So she may be lying, but then she'll accuse you of lying. Okay. Or, she is, very prideful and so forth. And then she'll say things like, oh, I can't stand prideful people, but hello, you see, and then she's going to gossip. She's going to go around. She's got to tell her little social circle, right? She's feeding off of other people. She's got to tell them everything that's ugly and wrong with you, just like the religious spirit. But then Jezebel will take, some of these Jezebel spirits will take, the demonic to a whole nother level. These are the ones that will get into the spells and the chants, and, things that will raise up all sorts of spirits, and they'll claim it's Jesus, God, or Holy Ghost, or what have you. But a lot of times, it's not. It's some other spirits that pretend or act as if they are coming from God and Jesus until she spends some time with the spirits, and then she realizes that no, they are not working for her like she once thought. And that they're actually killing her and destroying everything that's around her. Jezebel's spirit has to be casted out. There is no getting around that. She can go to counseling. She can, be around the believers and so forth. There must be a laying on of hands. And then even with the laying on of hands, Jezebel has to step down from her position, whatever that might be in the church. Okay. Because she needs to go through a humbling process. And then she's always fussing about something, and she'll claim that she's about God's business, but she's really about herself. And she will compromise her faith, just so you know. So this is the type of spirit, and he too, because I refer to she, but there are a lot of Jezebel spirits that tend to be women. But there are those men who were raised by Jezebel mothers, and so they tend to act like Jezebel. And they will have sex with you. Okay. And they won't feel guilty about it. Not in the least. That's why I said when I went to my backsliding state, I didn't think too much about, I remember when I used to serve the Lord and I did this, that, and the other. No, I was just concerned about getting my needs met. That Jezebel spirit had creeped in because I left myself vulnerable, having gone through a divorce, and I did not get around like-minded, believers or anything else. So slowly but surely I was operating on fumes, and then eventually them fumes left, and all it was just me walking in darkness. Okay. Now, if you want to refer to the Jezebel spirit, go to 1 Kings chapter 18 and 13, and also Revelation chapter 17 and 6. The witchcraft spirit, I do reference the witchcraft spirit in quite a few of my audios. Now, this is also something that you need to watch out for, because there are those believers that will say they believe in Jesus, God, and what have you, but then they have been introduced to all sorts of witchcraft. Okay. They are the ones that will, have all sorts of tools and so forth to try to cast love, connections and you're trying to get away from them. You're not, you know that you two are not compatible, but then you feel this need to stay around this individual and you don't quite understand why. That's a witchcraft spirit that's keeping you bound to that individual, and you've got to break yourself away from that sort of thing. That might just mean that you need to be around some believers who can pray for you to break that soul tie, okay, that they have upon you. Please do check our soul ties. I don't have enough time to get into that. And then, of course, they too are just like the religious and Jezebel spirit. They're going to start some confusion. You know, they're going to ask some questions about your faith. They'll be, judgmental. They may introduce you to some of what they believe, and it will rub you the wrong way. You will notice something that's off about what they're saying to you. There is also this moodiness that takes place with those that have witchcraft spirits. Today they're in love and they like you and you're just great and you're so wonderful. And then the next day they've got some kind of issue with you because they saw something or they felt something, or, they will use their words a lot to pull you into their world. We're talking about positive words, uplifting words. But all the while, though, they're going to control you, though, on the back end. So, I want you to come to this event. We're going to be doing this, that, and the other. Well, I really don't want to go because I feel this way and that way. Oh, come on, you have to go. You're going to be perfect for this. It's going to be great. And then someone like you and your character, you are I can't, tell people enough about you. You're just so wonderful, and it almost seems surreal, because you barely know me, but yet you've got all this wonderful stuff to say about me. That right there should be a red flag. What is really going on? And one thing about somebody with a witchcraft spirit, they don't mind putting their Bible on the shelf. They don't mind participating in all sorts of sexual immorality. Some of these folks, they are very, very much the kind of people where they have mind-blowing sex. Okay, I'm just trying to be clean in what I'm saying here. But these are folks that they take the whole sexual experience to a whole nother level. That's why it is hard to break away from them. Okay, because they mix a little bit of the New Age, a little bit of the Eastern, mysticism and so forth into their, belief system. They're pulling on this one and that one. But if you cross them, they are going to cast some spells on you. They're going to throw out some curses and so forth. If you are weak and you do not have the blood covering of Jesus upon you, then those spells will work. They will work. These people also know how to manipulate you emotionally, physically. It's just a lot of stuff going on with a person that has that kind of witchcraft type of spirit upon them. And these are people who are also on those dating websites. Okay. Then you have those that want to prophesy. Oh, and I think about someone right now, and they're not anybody who I dated. They're actually a relative, but it's this type of prophecy where they know everything about you. But when you correct them and you tell them, no, my mother is not from Jamaica. Okay. And these are the folks that's on the dating websites too. Nope, that vision that you had, that's incorrect. Nope, I don't know what you're talking about because, no, I have never experienced that before. So then they try to tailor their prophetic, warnings and signs and visions and everything else to suit you. Okay. And once again, you have to, speak up and say, nope, that's incorrect. That's not right. Okay. Now just imagine what a future is like with someone like this. Okay. Okay. I just realized I did not give you a scripture reference on the witchcraft spirit. Go over to Galatians chapter 5. Okay. And read 19 through 21. Now going back to this false prophecy, lying type of spirit that goes on with these folks. Deuteronomy 18:10 is a good place to start. And this divination type of spirit that goes on, once again, just like Jezebel and the religious spirits and the witchcraft spirit, there's confusion with them too. You're going to find yourself arguing because they're going to swear up and down that what they're telling you is right and that you're wrong. But see, a lot of these folks, these were the ones that were wounded in the church. These were the ones that suffer spiritual abuse. So they feel like they're doing something to help other people, but they're really breaking people down to a point where the folks end up following after Satan. Okay, I just can't deal with these Christians anymore. And they're saying, but I'm helping you. I'm really helping you. No, you're making me angry. You're making me want to, say things and do things that, I don't want to do. And I'm telling you these things and they don't listen. They're stubborn people. A lot of times they have turned away from the Lord and they consider themselves to be their own God. That's why you fight up against them. They too have a narcissistic spirit. These folks are also greedy, folks too, because they have watched people in the church, right? The leadership passing that plate around, and they feel like you need to put something in their plate or put something in their hand or put something in their wallet. Okay. They'll tell you about all their problems and so forth. And then they hope that you're going to give them something. And these are the folks that I would say are those ones that's always given, some sob story on those dating websites, hoping that somebody is going to, help them out. You got to watch out. And then in exchange, let me tell you about yourself. Let me tell you about your family. Let me, provide a word of advice about this, that, and the other. Okay. And a lot of their advice ultimately destroys your spirit, makes you angry, makes you want to, do some things and say some things that God will tell you, no, you don't want to go there. Just leave this person alone. Okay. So they're big time liars. And you got to do some investigating when you suspect that somebody is just saying some things that just sounds weird, sounds strange, and doesn't make any sense. There's some lies going on, exaggerations and so forth. You got to, do a lot of background checking with these types of people. And the minute you find out the truth, I don't care how beautiful or nice or sweet this person is, get away from them. Okay, get away from them because they will drain your spirit. They really will. They mean well. A lot of them do, but they will drain your spirit. Okay, now you got these folks that come in and they will tell you some things about some God that they had served years ago. Okay, and that God doesn't sound like your God. Then some of them will tell you about a God that they recently was introduced to, and they want you to start coming to the meetings and the services and all that. Nope. Do some research. Find out when they tell you that I grew up in this particular atmosphere, or my culture is this way, or our customs are this way. If you see some strange statues, some strange signs, symbols, what have you, do your research. Ask them questions and get on that computer and start finding out who is this God that they're talking about. Okay, because a lot of these folks that claim that they believe in your God, or we all, believe in the same God, a lot of them have all of those spirits that I talked about, plus they're into, mythology, and they will participate in all sorts of sexual cults because they get some type of energy, from having sex with young as well as old. Okay. Then you've got those that have fallen away. The church, hurt them. I can't stand them. Just like with the false prophets and all their spirits, they have been hurt too. So that's why they ended up going into the new age, beliefs and looking at horoscopes and just opening up themselves. They're very open-minded to all sorts of things. Okay. And these same folks that tend to be open-minded to all sorts of things also have a spirit of cheating too upon them. Okay. And I've come across them where they cannot stay faithful and they bore easily. They're on to the next thing. That's why they jump from one religion to the next religion to the next, and when you talk to them and they tell you, oh, I'm familiar with this. I'm familiar with that. And you say, wow, she's so well-rounded. No, your mind should be thinking, no, this is a person that's going to be introducing all sorts of gods sooner or later to me. They're going to be, swaying with the wind here, there, and everywhere. Okay. All right. Now, If you want to learn some more about that particular spirit or what have you, go over to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 14. Now, there's also the lukewarm types of spirits that these daters have. I go to church sometimes, or no, I don't go to church at all, which is fine, because I will tell you that right now, God does not have me in any type of church atmosphere, but I am focused on the ministry that he has put before me. Okay. And I'm being fed by, those individuals as God leads. Now, here's the thing. The difference between a person that is active, they're actually doing something, whether in the church or outside of the church, and one who says, oh, I go sometimes, or, I listen to church music every now and again, or what have you. The difference is that one who says that is in control of their worship. They are not reverencing the one true God. 9 times out of 10, they are not sold out on what Jesus did on the cross. And they also tend to be weak. They tend to be weak to greed. They tend to be weak to secular things, evil things. Some of these folks are very, very cheap. Okay. These are the ones that want you to spend your money, but they're not interested in spending their money. So not only are they lukewarm with God, but they're lukewarm when it comes to relationships too. They're not putting, their heart and soul into anything. They, which God does tell us to guard our heart, but you see what I'm saying? They're not energetic. They're not focused. They're not, too interested, in what you have to say, or, where are we going? I don't know. Where do you want to go? Being around them is just, it's blasé. He's okay. She's all right. And they also encompass all of the previous that I mentioned. And then this other spirit that I'm about to mention. Now, this particular one is deceptive. It's scandalous. It's sometimes talking about how depressed it is. It's cold. Sometimes it can be very hyper. Oh, yes, I'm all in. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's do that. And then the next thing, I don't know. So there's a lot of wishy-washy stuff going on with this one too. And this familiar spirit, like I said, this is the one that is going to go back and talk about, who you are, what you're doing. If you are really about God's business, and, Mom, what do you think? Dad, what do you think? And then meanwhile, the folks that they're reporting back to, their buddies and all that other stuff, they're not even sold out for God, not even interested in the least, and these folks are the ones that you say to yourself, why are you even on a Christian dating site? Why are you even here? Okay. So all of these types of individuals are definitely present. There is also some other spirits. Please do check out my audio on the Python and Viper spirits. These spirits are wicked. Now, how do you discern from when a person is just having a weak moment, and from one who is just falling into any one of these categories? I'll tell you that consistency, patterns, those are the things that you're trying to pay attention to. When every time you turn around, 10 or more things show up that say, I'm dealing with a religious spirit. This person is, always doubt my faith. This person, is confused about his or her own faith. This person is argumentative and what have you. You just keep seeing a pattern of things. So you're like, okay, this person, they don't even know the Bible. They're in error. You just keep finding out one more thing, and then it's safe to, conclude that this person has a religious spirit. Or, same thing with Jezebel. Every time you turn around, okay, there's the insecurity, and, she's jealous, and she doesn't want you going here or there. She's trying to get involved with things that she has no business getting involved in. She's in people's business. She's in your business. You start to see a buildup of something. It's safe to say, yes, that one right there has a Jezebel spirit, because a person that every now and again, something happens. That's just, normal. I mean, we're all going to have a moment where we're acting controlling, or we're acting insecure, or we're acting like we're a little bit self-righteous. Or we might say something that was rooted in witchcraft from way back when. And, it was a moment. But then we might correct ourselves, or the person around us will say, listen, what you just said, that's crazy. Okay. Where did that come from? And then you check yourself, and then you don't go back to that same sort of thing. You confess in, you repent, you can see that there's something different about a person. But these people that come with this false light around them, where they are acting as if they are a child of God when they know that they've been backsliding for a long period of time. These are the ones that will have more than enough signs to tell you that we are not compatible spiritually. And then eventually you find out that you're not compatible in the natural either. I'm arguing with you. You're arguing with me. I was happy in the church. Then somehow I got with you. Now I'm not going to church like I used to. Or maybe I was not going to the church, but I was reading my Bible, and I was listening to various audio, and I was, going over here and spending some time with like-minded brothers and sisters. And you came into my life, and now I'm feeling this pull away from that. That is a clear indication. There is a spirit. It doesn't matter what the name of the spirit is, but there is a spirit that is changing your world in such a way where you are feeling weak mentally, physically, and spiritually. You see? And that is not what God wants for our lives. Jesus didn't die on the cross, for us to sit up there and just be involved with just anyone, and then procreate with just anyone. That's why we've got to be equally yoked, because if we're equally yoked, we can go out there and we can, fight the good fight together. But if I'm opposing you, you're opposing me, I'm dealing with today a spirit of witchcraft. Then I'm over here talking to this one, trying to figure out if he's my future husband or what have you. And then there's something going on with this person. You see, I remember going through this sort of pull in 2005. Because I'm coming up out of a relationship. Then I'm starting another relationship. Then I find out that this one, he's got all this stuff going on with him. And he was just looking for, as we say out in the street, a booty call. And then this one, he's trying to lure me out my house to get me to come to a hotel with him. And then there was another one. He's sitting up there sending me all these messages and stuff, and then trying to tell me that he was going to leave his wife for me. And I'm like, what the heck is this guy? Then there's another guy. He comes into play. He tells me that, he saw my profile. He liked me and what have you. And he seemed to be relatively normal. I went out with him, you see. But just like I was going through, he was going through too. So you see, everybody's going to have something with them. The question you have to ask yourself, for those of you all who are single, and for those of you all who are getting out of relationships and contemplating the future, you've got to ask yourself, what can I tolerate? If you know that you cannot tolerate the religious kind of Christian, why are you going out with the religious kind of Christian, or considering on going out with the religious kind of Christian, or even marrying the religious kind of Christian? Or if you are the kind of person that that you cannot tolerate individuals who are so open-minded to so many different things in your circle. Now you can tolerate them at work or what have you, but you just can't live with that kind of person. Then why would you even consider dating someone like that? You see, some of you all, people who have done this sort of thing, and you whisper to yourself, or you whisper to someone else, that's why she's having so many problems, or that's why he's having so many problems, because it was messed up from the start. And I told her, God even showed me in the spirit that guy was wrong for her. But yet she going to step out on faith, she said. Meanwhile, he had turned away from the Lord a long time ago. We could see that in the way that he was dressed and all that mess that was on his body. You see, some people will give it away. They'll give it away even by their smell, by their scent. You see, oh, I don't believe in, bathing such and such. I don't believe in washing my hair because of whatever. You see, you're like, what kind of, And then you got some folks who they will tell you that their religion is not the God that you believe in. Believe them when they say that, because there are those who believe in satanic worship. There are those that have a Luciferian background. They may not tell you, but then you look around and you see the symbols on their arms and you see the books that they have. They may even tell you, no, I'm not into that anymore, but every now and again I study. Boom, that's a red flag. They're not every now and again studying. They are still sold out for the Lord that they serve, not your Lord. Okay? But you've got to find out these things. Now, there are those who, we all serve the same God. Love you, you love me, everything is great, everything's wonderful and nice. But then you find out that there are some things that aren't sitting well with you. It would make sense to go to God and talk to him about it. Maybe it is you. Maybe you got some issues. Maybe there are some witchcraft spirits floating around you. Maybe there's some familiar spirits about you where you tend to always gravitate to scandal. Or maybe that person tends to always, have some type of thing that they're into. They just can't seem to, do right. Maybe they used to be a fortune teller. Okay. Or maybe they're still a fortune teller. Some of that stuff you just cannot just dismiss. Those are things that God is saying, I didn't call you to that type of relationship. And you're saying, well, he told me that he's going to change and he's going to get better and he's going to stop participating in demonic activity. He's going to stop treating me mean. The cold-hearted people, they cannot love. So you might as well just get that in your spirit, or tell somebody who, is in that type of, arrangement. That one that cannot compliment them, that one that cannot send them flowers, that one that cannot hug and kiss and all that. That's a cold-hearted spirit. And that falls under the familiar spirits. Sometimes you are exposed to that sort of thing growing up. Mom and dad, sister, brother, who had, what have you, they were cold type of people. They just did not respond, to love. They didn't know how to show love. You don't consider being in a relationship with a person like that. Now, there are good actors and actresses, okay? And then you find out over time that these individuals are like that. And when that sort of thing happens, you got to turn that over to the Lord. And then God will order your steps. If you want out, God will make a way for you to be out of it, okay? So I thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. This is the kind of message that I'm hoping will free some people from some of these draining online dates that they have, as well as those that are in some mixed up stuff offline. People show themselves when they're doing too much cursing, when they're doing too much lying and covering up, or today they're hot, tomorrow they're cold. All of that are signs to move away, to stay away, to love at a distance. Okay? If you know that you cannot tolerate that sort of thing, then why are you considering? Well, he said this, he said that. People say a lot of stuff, and then people change too. And are you going to be able to tolerate those changes? Because they will come. It's not going to always be blissful. So I thank you so much, as always, for taking the time out to listen. And may God richly bless you. Please do check out Leviticus chapter 19, verse 31 on those familiar spirits. Also, when it comes to the lukewarm, do go over to Revelation chapter 3, verse 16. Okay. And if you feel like you are in a relationship with a liar, as I said before, go over there to Deuteronomy 18:10. Because, like I said, there are those false prophets, people that like to say that they know things about you and they know about the future and everything else. And they don't even know their own future, much less anyone else's, okay? And they walk around and pretend as if they got some kind of religion, some kind of spirituality, and they got nothing. God long left them. They're apostates, they're reprobates, and everything else. Okay, so that's it. Thank you, as always, for taking the time out to listen, and may God bless you and those you love.